All right, y'all, it's open mic night, which means it's your night to rant next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And tonight, as I stated, is open mic night, which means it's your night to sound off, get off your takes. And I know there has to be a lot on your mind. The 49ers have a lot going on. Today, they did sign three key free agents from their own roster, but nonetheless, I think it was very big. They got Dante Johnson back. And remember, Dante Johnson is a guy who in week 18 played all three spots in the secondary, played safety, played nickel corner, played outside corner. It's good to have that versatility. And as your fourth or fifth option off the bench, you have to like that signing. Jeff Wilson Jr., who led them in touchdowns in 2020, had a little bit of a down year last year because of injury. But ultimately, I do think Jeff Wilson Jr. is a very good player. I think maybe he came back from his injury a little too early, or maybe it was the training camp or lack of training camp, rather, that held him back. But I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is a really good player. In fact, Sunil and I talked about him just last night and how we wish that he would come back, and here he is. And then the last signing is Jordan Willis. I think that was a big deal as well, adding some depth pieces at the edge spot. For me, those are three key re-signings that are going to go under the radar, but are big in keeping teams like the 49ers competitive. So here's how this is going to work. Tonight, I am here for just an hour again. Again, I've still got family in town. So we're going to go through everybody rapid fire. Right now, I've got the whole back end pretty wide open. So if you want to call in, have any conversation, any questions, maybe you want to talk about what Grant and I just talked about over on his show. Maybe you've got some other things that are on your mind, but come on over. The link is in the description. It should also be pinned at the top of the chat. Click that link. It'll bring you backstage. Let's have some good conversation. And let me switch this overlay over. We'll start with Korean 49er here. Hold up. All right. Boom. What's up, Korean 49er?
Can you hear me?
I got you. Oh my gosh. Every other week, I swear.
It's something, man. I don't know. But my first thought is I'm thinking that Jed York and Parag are bean counters, and this franchise is being run by bean counters. To me, it sounds like they don't want to ever spend the money to try to go all in and try to win, because last season they were really close, reasonably close to making another Super Bowl, and they could have used a little bit more help. Because I remember when they went on that '94 run, then didn't Eddie and Karma Policy go get a mercenary in Deion Sanders?
For sure they did. Yes, absolutely they did.
To me, I don't see that from John Lynch or Jed York ever wanting to do that.
They here's the thing, right? Like I think this one's so tough because the 49ers have gone pretty heavy after some big name guys, right? Like obviously Trent Williams, but then you have years like this one. And for me, watching this team not go all in an NFC that quite frankly is very wide open. Like I think the Rams have gotten slightly worse. Obviously the Bucks are still there. They're at least maintaining, but the 49ers have an opportunity here to go all in. I know a lot of teams are showing this perception of going all in, but all those teams are in the AFC. So right now is your chance to go win the NFC. Go get it done. Like, yes, you're going to have to play a really good team once it gets to the Super Bowl, but for right now, go win the NFC. Go figure it out from there. I think they have a wide open shot at this, and they're just not doing it. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but right now it is a little bit disappointing.
So yeah, that's what I'm seeing from that. And the second point I have is the front office has been kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the quarterback, starting quarterback since 2017. You don't scout Mahomes or Watson, whatever. I get that's 5 years ago, but still, they would have at least gotten you a potential elite quarterback for a few seasons. And then you trade a pick for Jimmy. And my question is with Jimmy always came up with when Tom Brady was suspended for those 4 games during Deflategate, he didn't finish two of those. He only played in 2 of those games and then got injured.
Well,
So that's where
that's where the comments came from Bennett, right? Like he called him a B because he didn't finish the game or he left him high and dry when they thought he was healthy enough to play. So, yeah, I mean, you had a chance to start 4 games. Now he looked good. Don't get me wrong, he definitely looked good. He looked good in the 5 games he was here. I mean, he helped get them over the hump. I understand all those things, but the funny thing is yes, you say, okay, those blunders were 5 years ago, but those blunders have set the path for where they're at today, for why they had to go trade up and get Trey Lance. So all those things that we're talking about, why is Jimmy still on the roster? Well, it all started back then. So yes, we can say, well, it was 2017, but 2017 is when all this madness started. This is why we're in the situation that they're in right now. So yeah, it is a big deal.
to me it just seems like they had no plan or process, and now last year, let's just say you went 1 of 2 paths. Let's say, hey, for this one season, we're not gonna trade up to get Trey. I know it didn't happen, but you could have gotten Rayshon Slater in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have Slater would have been a great get. Yes.
That's who I wanted because I love elite offensive linemen. And usually, you can't get elite offensive linemen outside of the first round. Usually,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, you're right about that.
or you could have said, hey, we're gonna we traded up to 3, which they did. You got Trey, but look what the Colts did when they got to the number 1 pick and had Andrew Luck. Peyton Manning came out and said, "You have to cut me because you can't let him sit on the bench at that time."
Mm-hmm.
And you had to
Mm-hmm.
let Andrew Luck take his lumps, and he did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he took his lump so much that he's out of the freaking league. But
That's
yes,
true too.
absolutely. Yeah.
So that's where I was, and then you could have rolled that 50 million, potential 50 million over, and that's
Thank you.
where I get the most frustrated at is you had a chance to really load up, and you didn't. I'm not saying
Yeah.
for you to spend the 25 million from last year when you cut Jimmy on players last year. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you had a chance to get difference makers and they didn't.
Okay, so let's think this through for a second. So everybody says, well, you can't really go get any big name free agents because you don't have the money to do so. You got to re-sign Debo, you got to re-sign Bosa. Well, last year, if they let Jimmy walk and not filled that salary up, they could have had $50 million right now. So if you set 25 million aside, right, even this year, you could have spent 25 million, front loaded somebody's contract, kept 25 million, rolled it over again to get 50 million again. Now, you see how this can work? So the 49ers really have put themselves in an awkward spot. Now they have the opportunity to do that again. Will they take advantage of it? Probably not. Jimmy G is probably going to be here. It's probably going to be a training camp battle. We're going to be pulling our hair out, arguing all season again on who should play, who shouldn't. Even if it's Trey, every time he has a down game, you're going to have people coming out of the woodwork saying, well, Jimmy gets them to the NFC Championship. Jimmy gets them to the Super Bowl. Like, it's going to be a crappy situation. I can feel it coming right now. And I hope that I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go any different than that. It just doesn't.
If Jimmy's a starter for this upcoming season, I'm going to lose interest in them following the team for the season. Because to me, he already had 2 chances to try to win with fully loaded teams, and he didn't. I just go by what was shown on the field. He didn't have all he had to do was just not bungle it up.
So here's the thing with Super Bowl windows is they don't last forever, especially in a salary cap situation. Now, they can be extended. Like you look at the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs seemingly might be out of it for a season until they kind of revamp and get a new wide receiver and whatever with these draft picks, right? Obviously, the AFC West has gone all in. Maybe they take a step back, but you still have the best quarterback, arguably in the NFL, which means you're going to be competitive for many, many years, just like the Seahawks were, just like the Patriots were. The 49ers, hopefully they have that in Trey Lance, but there's a better chance you don't have that. For as much as I love Trey, that is a possibility you don't have that in Trey. So while this Super Bowl window has been wide open, you've done nothing to climb through it and force your way through, right? And so now they're in a situation where that window can close quicker than they imagine. And then what? Then what do you do? So yeah, it's certainly is a blunder. It certainly is a miss on their part for sure.
And two last quick points. I know you got other callers. So to me, there was a chance that it could have upgraded the offensive line by getting Lyle Collins, however you pronounce his first name, because to me, I don't know if McGlinchey is going to ever come back. And right tackle is a hole. And Tom Compton is no longer an option for. So I believe he signed with somebody else. I don't know who. I believe it might have been the Broncos. I don't recall.
Lyle Collins, no, he went to
he went to the Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals.
Tom Compton may have gone to the Broncos.
Tom Compton went to the Broncos. Yeah, the Broncos are NFC West Broncos. Yes, they've got all the NFC West players.
Yes, and to me, this Jimmy thing just could have been completely avoided.
Yeah, for many, many years, many times over. At the end of the day, like you said, 2017 happened. They passed on Brady. They could have done what the Patriots did last year, cut the issue before it came an issue, played the rookie quarterback. They didn't do that. They had probably opportunities. I don't care what anybody says. People can say, oh, Jimmy has no trade value. You're telling me that no team would have given a seventh rounder for Jimmy? Like saying that there's no trade value means there was no offer for Jimmy. You're telling me not even a seventh round pick they could get for this guy? I'm not buying that. Like that is impossible. With the landscape of the NFL, with as many teams needed a quarterback by the time this thing started, there is no way you can't tell me that no offer was on the table. Now, it was an offer the 49ers probably, quite frankly, were not willing to accept, and that's why they're in this situation. They overplayed their hand. But to say that there was no value for Jimmy, no. There was some value for Jimmy. They didn't like the value that was thrown their way, period, point blank. And so, yes, they've put themselves in this situation.
I think Jimmy has minimal trade value. As Bay Area Baller says, he believes that Jimmy has no trade value. I think he's very minimal at best. But then my final point is I think this will be a down year because that's just a typical Kyle Shanahan pattern.
God, I hope not, man. The NFC is wide open. I still believe in this roster. Hopefully they go with Trey Lance and they have a successful season. But this Jimmy thing is it's certainly a dark cloud. Hopefully they do the right thing. They cut him once he can pass a physical, save the $7.5 million, roll the money over to next year, and go all in with Trey for the next couple of years. That's what they should do. We'll see if it ends up playing out that way, but that's the hope, anyways.
But the problem is every other team's going to try to go all in next season when the cap is closed too. So that's the 49ers not having the foresight to think about that ahead of time.
Nope, that's a very good point. Very good point. All right, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jesse.
Later.
Yep.
Davo. He says, F it, just put Jesse at center. Hey, I can throw lefty. I can throw a good 30 yards tight spiral left-handed, maybe 50 yards if I'm lucky on a good day right-handed, but there's not going to be any steam behind it. You don't want me playing quarterback. Let me get to Karan's going to be next. Then I got my man Faithful, and then Rick the Ruler. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Bring in Karan. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. You've never called in here. I'm glad that you're finally calling in.
Past my bed, I get up early in the morning to go to work or work out, so I'm usually in bed. I feel it. 9-10, but I do watch it on the rerun, so to speak.
I appreciate it, man. Well, I'm glad you're calling in. I've seen you call into Grants. Obviously, we talk on Twitter, but yeah, I appreciate it. What's on your mind, man?
Oh, so listen, a few things. One is that it's fascinating living on the East Coast, right, and watching the Niners somewhat, placate kind of a small market team when it comes to free agency, right? San Francisco is a big market, but you wouldn't know it. They are kind of playing second fiddle in the free agency piece to the Rams right now, or any LA team for that matter of fact. So that's interesting to see, but I don't think that that's such a bad idea because historically, free agency typically bites you. Now, the Rams were the exception this year, right? And so now you see this copycat league like the Broncos and other teams kind of going all in. But historically, that usually doesn't pan out. So I'm not so concerned about them not going after free agents because here's the thing. They don't really have a good track record going after free agents. What they value is system, right? They value Kyle's system above all else. You have seen that because here's the thing. When their free agents walk, it's not like there's a huge clamoring for them for the most part, right? And that's because, Kyle has a specific system that he can put people in and they flourish. And when they go outside that system, typically they don't do that well. There's exceptions, of course, but look at Tart, look at other players. The book's kind of out on them. They're system players for Kyle and the 49ers, so to speak. And if you are that kind of franchise, they remind me a lot of the Oakland A's. They had a specific system that they coveted players, and those players never, were coveted by other teams, or they weren't big free agent spenders, but they were always in it, so to speak, right? But they never could get past the Yankees, who spend quite a bit of money, right? And got to, the championship. So there's some analytical thing going on in San Francisco. I think long term, you'll see a competitive team, but you may not see a Super Bowl team, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes a ton of sense actually, and I tend to agree with it. And by the way, I think that is the right way to build a team.
Absolutely.
You're right. It's a copycat league. You're seeing all these other teams go all in. And by the way, chances are with that many teams going all in, one of them will win the Super Bowl. So it will play out and be like, oh, see, if you go all in, you win. But when you have 7 teams doing it at the same time, law of average says it's possible that it's going to happen to one of these teams. So that's not normally how you win, but you have to, it's a push and pull, right? You got to push a little bit, go in, get your draft picks, build the core, whatever, and then pull that lever when the time is right and go all in. Now, I want to say that the 49ers did actually try to go the all in approach. It just didn't result in a Super Bowl victory. D Ford and Quan Alexander, those at the time were all in type of moves. It didn't work out for them. It ended up being the wrong players, but the effort was there, right? And so the Rams get all this credit because theirs ended up playing out after going all in season after season after season. But the 49ers did take that approach. They did pull that lever. It ended up being the wrong one or just barely missing it, but it almost worked out in their favor. So you do have to do a little bit of both. But I think the 49ers approach has been right overall.
I think they went all in once they saw their 8-0 and got Emmanuel Sanders that season, right?
True. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I understand that piece of it, but I also think that they are very much of the mindset we're going to kind of do like the opposite from what everyone else is doing, because typically you'll kind of get lucky on that front. And you know what, for all the people that didn't like what happened last year, if I told you at the beginning of 2021 that the Niners would be leading somewhat in the fourth quarter, right, in the NFC Championship, what would you have said? You would have said, yes, give me that scenario. Because you know what? It bought me another month of 49er football. And no matter how mad people get, I'd rather sign up for that than being, a Super Bowl contender for 1 year and then being, in the toilet or a dumpster fire for 5 years. I also think that, the similarities between what the Niners possibly could do and what happened to the Cincinnati Bengals. If you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they did not invest in an O-line. They drafted a wide receiver before the season started. No one had pegged them for anything. They had a second-year quarterback that was up and coming. They went to the Super Bowl, and now they're going all in because now they see what they have in Joe Burrow. I think as much as we want to anoint Trey Lance, I think there's a little bit of, whether you like it or not, hesitancy of going all in with Trey Lance. Because here's the thing, if Trey Lance is who everyone thinks he is, those free agents are going to be cheaper because they're going to want to go there, right? They're going to want to go to that destination to win one. And Joe Burrow still has 2 years, 3 years of a cheap contract. Trey Lance is the same way. What makes this very fascinating is the whole Jimmy Garoppolo piece. You know, if I'm the 49ers, I say, Jimmy, you're back, but you're back at 7.5. We just saw that happen with the Chicago Bears, who gave Andy Dalton $10 million to be a backup, essentially. Having Jimmy as a backup, or having Jimmy and Trey fight it out, and having Jimmy at 7.5, I think is a lot more, easier to swallow than having Jimmy at 25. And Jimmy is not going to get 7, 10, 11 million if they cut him right at training camp. You know what I mean? So to me, the 49ers can just sit back and wait. Did they get the draft capita? No, they did not. I think you're right. They waited too long. I also think that Washington probably wanted him, and Jimmy said no. And they were going to be jerks about it, which again, in long term, it will probably, perceptional help that they typically don't screw over their, players, whether their players screw over them or whatever. They usually treat their players well. And I think that, that'll come back around to them, but it'll be fascinating to see what happens.
Here's the thing, though, is that I don't know if anybody had any real expectation that Jimmy was going to go for a lot. The 49ers are the one that put the expectation out there that was the key. That was the piece. Just by the way that they kept Jimmy, played him. Oh, I think that we can trade him this offseason. He's a starter in this league, what have you, trying to pump up his trade value. So I think
Jesse, but what if plan all along? What if that was the plan all along? What if their plan was to pump it up so high that they would have no other option to keep him? Because here's the thing. If you're all in on Trey, that aggressive trade market, you never want to be last at the dance. You take what you can get. And you saw, Wentz, who leadership quality is striking out twice, in that aspect as a quarterback. You saw other players go for a lot more. So to me, I think the Niners, not conspiracy theory, but what if the Niners did this on purpose? What if they made it so high that there was no other option other than bringing Jimmy back? Which brings me to the next part of it, is that I have legitimate concerns on how this organization develops quarterback, because I've never seen it. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
They haven't developed any quarterback. Like, that's the problem, is
Nick Mullins
they haven't
won, but I mean, that's it. And that's not saying much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy hasn't gotten better in the 5 years he's been here. Has Jimmy gotten better?
You know what? I think if Jimmy never injured his ACL, he would have been a much different quarterback, and we would not have this conversation. I think the ACL injury changed who he was as a quarterback. I think he ad-libbed a little bit more, and I think that was always a welcome thing because he was somewhat athletic. Post ACL, I just don't think he's the same quarterback. To me, he was a poor man's Tony Romo before the ACL injury. Once the ACL surgery, or once the ACL injury occurred, he was no longer that person.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you up until this year. I felt like he kind of got a little bit of that back, but the problem was he almost threw 3 picks rolling to his right in the playoffs. He did run in a couple touchdowns. I felt like this year was probably his most mobile year since that year. He got a little bit of that back, but that's the problem with Jimmy. And this is where I get frustrated with people throw around that game manager term way too much, right? Oh, he's a game manager. He's not a game manager. If Jimmy was a game manager, they would have a ring right now. Jimmy is not a game manager. Jimmy has a game manager skill set with a gunslinger mentality. That is the worst pairing that you can have. That is Jimmy Garoppolo in a nutshell. If Jimmy Garoppolo was Alex frickin' Smith, or realized he was closer to Alex Smith than Brett Favre, Jimmy Garoppolo would have led this team to a Super Bowl and probably would still be the starting quarterback for this team for many years to come. But he overplayed or overshot who he thought he was, outplayed or didn't play within those bounds, and got himself in a lot of trouble. That is the biggest frustration with Jimmy, is not realizing what his own skill sets are and taking advantage of them.
So I push back and I would say, isn't that what good coaching is? Isn't a good coach, isn't a good system beating that into you when he should be checking down, when he should be throwing the ball away. Isn't that what good coaching is? When there's no repercussion, right? That's on Kyle. That's on the offensive coordinator. That is on the coaches that you surround Jimmy with and being like, Jimmy, what the hell are you doing? Right? When is that happening? I mean, I saw Kyle light up Jimmy during the Bears game. And coincidentally, what happened? He stopped throwing picks, and he actually did well somewhat after Kyle lit him up. But that was the only time I've ever seen Kyle light him up.
There is some level to that. I'm not going to fully disagree there, but at the same time, like, I also think Jimmy's kind of a. I'm not saying when I say this, I'm not saying this as a person, but as far as a quarterback, I think Jimmy's kind of a dummy when it comes to that stuff. Like, this is a guy. He makes the same mistake over and over and over. It's like, bro, you've done this for 5 years. You can't get over a cover one. It's a cover one robber. Everybody can see it coming. Why are you still throwing it over the middle?
You nailed it.
Directly to a safety.
Without the arm, he can't make up for those mistakes. He's Brett Favre without the arm, right? He's Tony Romo. Tony Romo had the same thing. As smart as Tony Romo sounds on television, I don't think people realize how many big game interceptions Tony Romo threw, and there were knucklehead things because he just didn't have the arm strength, right? He would ad lib, and sometimes it would go great, but sometimes it wouldn't. And I think Jimmy's even lesser of that to a certain degree. But here's the last point. At the end of the day, the season's going to be defined by the emergence of Kenlaw, the emergence of Thomas, and the emergence of either, Lenore. I mean, I think, and the offensive lineman that they're going to replace. His name is escaping me. It may actually be Thomas as well. But those 3 players that are second-year players are really...
Talking about Banks, the left guard?
Banks.
There you go. Aaron Banks.
Yeah, it's Banks, Thomas, Lenore. They are going all in with them. Whether you like it or not, they are going all in with them because they're showing us that they think that they're going to make a jump. They redshirted them. This is the year that they're going to do well. And I think that just need to look at those 3 players and see how well they do. And then the other thing, I hate to break it to Niner fans, but they may have somewhat of the same team, or if not a better team, and have a worse record because they're playing the AFC West. And no offense, that matters who you play. They're going against arguably the best division in football now. That's not going to be easy because are they better than the Broncos right now? Probably not. Are they better than the Chiefs? Maybe. They're certainly not better than the Chargers, who've gotten all those pieces. And the Raiders, they may not match up well against the Raiders. Those are 4 teams you're going to have to play. And your own division, which historically, outside of the Rams, which now doesn't really matter, the rest of that division owns you.
Yeah. You're right about that. Luckily, Seattle is not the same Seattle, and Arizona lost Chandler Jones. So I feel pretty good about that right now. But no, you're right. I mean, it's a tough schedule. That AFC West is no joke. Luckily, they get to play them this year, and then they get to stay away from it for a few years because I don't want to play the AFC West for a long time. They've gotten stacked. Karan, thank you so much for coming in, man. I've got people lining up, and I've only got another 30 minutes, so I want to get through all these guys. Thanks, brother.
Yep.
All right. Niner by Nature says, thank you for the great content, fam. I thank your parents for your existence. See, there you go. You got it right. Anywho, if you look at how NDSU developed Trey, Kyle Shanahan is doing the same way. Trey will start this year. We're okay, faithful. 100. Yeah, listen, I hope you're right, man. I think ultimately he does start, but this is still very frustrating. And then Chase taps in and says, I don't know if anyone has mentioned this, but do you think that Trey following every starter except for Jimmy, literally I haven't paid attention to that. Are you talking about on social media? Is it Instagram? What is it? That's a little interesting, right? He called him like his best friend, or I don't know what he said. He said something along the lines of lifelong friend. Trey's done it the right way. I think Trey's a leader, but man, that is interesting. I have not looked into that. And thank you for throwing it our way. Appreciate both of you. Here's some love. All right, I'm actually going to switch this up. Faithful Trey, hang tight because I know you and I can get a little long-winded. I want to get in Rick the Ruler, bring him in, and then I'll get to you, and then we'll go Holden and EMA Beats. What's up, Rick? How you doing, man?
What's good, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I saw you backstage going, nah, yeah, no. That was dope, man. What's on your mind?
Man, you know what? I was thinking about it. To me, all this started with one person, and that's Jed York. And hear me out. My reason with is remember when we first got Trey Lance, and the worst thing Jed York said was, I'm comfortable paying Jimmy for 2 years. And the thing about it is you have to give me that that backup plan. People are holding on to it right now. That's why people are like, well, we can come back and bring Jimmy back one more time. And it's like if he could have just shut his mouth and just let, even though we should have traded Jimmy the minute that we got Trey Lance, but people have that still would think about that. Oh, well, Jay York said he's quite comfortable with keeping Jimmy another year. And most of the fans are like, no, that's crazy. We could have used his money to improve our team because the thing about it is people don't realize when Super Bowl teams lose, it's rare that you get back with that same team. So although we remember when we lost, we're like, oh, revenge tour and all that other stuff. Yeah, no, that really doesn't happen because even the years that Tom Brady lost and went back, it wasn't the same team. He was the one constant, but they had interchanged different parts. And so now with Trey Lance, and now he's coming back and he's training and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, we have to get rid of Jimmy G. We can't have him on the books because I mean, there naturally going to be some players just gravitate toward him, just regardless, because they have history with him. It doesn't matter if I think that Trey Lance can beat him in an open competition. It's just, look, this guy has at least taken you to an NFC championship, to a Super Bowl, whether we give him credit or not, whatever. But the players believe that and they like him and they went to war with him. So some guys would be like, I think Debo and Kittle would have no problem going back to Jimmy. Now, Brandon Ayuk might be like, hey, deep ball me. I'm ready to go down the field. I'm tired of all this. I don't have the same affection for Jimmy like you all do because hey, you all been his number one targets. He don't have that same chemistry with me. And so that's, to me, that's one of the most frustrating things right now because we still need better O-line help. We still need, I think, one speedy receiver and all of this things we could have addressed in the off season, free agency, but now we're stuck holding the bag with Jimmy. And so now at this point, it's like, do we just say, you know what, cut it loose completely and just pay him the $7 million injury settlement? Or do we wait until he's physically healthy and able to pass the physical and then we cut him? But it's like we cannot go into training camp after paying Nate Sudfeld backup money and with Jimmy G on the squad. What do you think?
I agree with you, and I think it's more because of the locker room thing. It's less about what he's making, right? Like for me, okay, let's look at this from both angles. First of all, it's not fair to Trey, right? Because anytime, let's say he's the starter, anytime he plays bad, he's going to be looking over his shoulder, and you do have a whole stable of veterans that certainly want Jimmy G to be their quarterback because they do associate winning with Jimmy Garoppolo. But it's also unfair to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like Jimmy Garoppolo did everything he needed to. For everything that we say about Jimmy, he was the consummate pro last year. He was that. So now you're going to embarrass this guy in front of the team and make him the backup. Like that's what you're going to do. This guy that rode with this roster to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship, whether it was him or not, he was a part of those trips. So now he's the backup. I mean, how humiliating is that? Like, if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, I'd rather be a backup for the Patriots than on this very roster, this very team that I went to a Super Bowl with. I think that's the most humiliating thing you can do. I think that is more unprofessional than outright cutting this guy at the very last second. So for me, I agree with you. They cannot roll with Jimmy G on this roster. I think it would be an absolute disaster. They have to get rid of this guy. They have to.
They have to, because I mean he already did the farewell kind of conference and everything else, and you can't, you typically don't quit a job and then say change your mind at the last second. Remember I just changed my 2-week resignation. I was just playing. You know what I was just playing. I was just playing. No, the minute you say I think the faithful, I think the teammates, everything else, and even the teammates, like Kyle Juszczyk was talking about, kind of getting emotional, thinking that it's the last time, and maybe that scene with John Lynch hugging Jimmy in the tunnel, whatever. It's like, look, we like the fact that Jimmy G kind of reset what starting caliber quarterback looks like, because before, having going through CJ Beathard and Mullins and Hoyer and what was that other guy? The guy that played with Cap. I forgot what his name escapes me. But anyways, once you get there, you're like, okay.
Not Bortles. No. It was the other Jacksonville quarterback though. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, once you get that, like, okay, this is what a starting quarterback looks like. You say, yeah, we understand what that looks like, and we know now that CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins, they're not it. Blaine Gabbert, that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Though they're not what you call quote unquote starting quarterbacks. But after you have that reset, then you should know, hey, just because he's better than those, let's look around the whole entire NFL landscape, and he's not like other people. And I think for me, once Kyle was able to see Josh Allen up close and personal, and because the thing about it is, Kyle, I think Kyle can scheme anybody open. I believe that. But I also believe there are going to come times in games where a defense just guesses right. Just guesses right. Just naturally. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So they're going to guess at least once or twice. And you need somebody that's going to be like, well, you know what? Hey, I see it's broken down play, whatever, and I'm going to still make something happen. And even Kyle could be like, hey, man, you saved me on this one. And that's not what Jimmy does, because right now, Jimmy, if everything doesn't work perfectly, you see him start basically moonwalking, looking up, and then he'll either take a stupid sack or he'll just play 3 flies up and throw the ball. And you're like, dude, I would rather you just take a sack than just throw the crap that you're doing. Then on top of it, we're not talking about him rolling out and his decision making. I believe, like you, that I don't think he's the smartest. I think his best thing is his fast release. I mean, and to me, that's crazy and it's good, but that only works if the receiver doesn't get jammed and it's not like a timing situation. But if a receiver gets jammed or whatever, and then you don't have that same timing situation, you see Jimmy start holding the ball and he's double pumping and whatever. And like you said before, he does not have a gunslinger's arm, but he has a gunslinger's mentality. So he will see, he can say, look, hey, Jesse, I'm throwing to you. And you can be open, but he doesn't throw it to you the first time. He'll come back to you and throw it to you, not realizing the cornerback, the safety, the middle linebacker have seen exactly what Jimmy has seen now. And so they break it on it. And so a lot of times we'll either have is almost pick where they just pretty much drop the ball, or it's a pick and everybody's like, why did you throw that ball in the first place? And so with Jimmy, you're like, look, dude, I appreciate you coming in here and giving us excitement after all the trash that we went through with Tom Sula and the other quarterbacks and everything else. But I feel like we've gone as far as we can go with you, and we need to move forward.
Listen, man, I'm so with you on everything that you're saying, and what's interesting about Jimmy is the way that he wins is also the way that he gets himself in trouble. Like that quick release and that quick decision making and locking in on a guy pre-snap. Yes, it works great 70% of the time, but then there are those, oh my, what the F moments are you doing? Like, how did you not see that safety drop down? Or why did you lock in on a single receiver side with a safety sitting over the top when you had 3 receivers on your right side, one-on-one matchups? Like, how do you choose that pre-snap? Like, what goes into your thought process? That's why I said Jimmy is a bonehead. Like, I understand, okay, he's been in the system 5 years. He's got a good smile. Like, I don't know, like people like overthink his
It's like a
mentality.
chin line, a jawline.
Yeah, like Jimmy's not a smart quarterback. Like he's so frustrating because he makes the same mistakes over and over and over. And to your point, the way he wins is also the way he loses, and it's extremely frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I believe that because, like you said before, it's like he already has a predetermined person he's going to throw it to. He'll come hell or high water. It doesn't matter. Like if the boss says I'm going to Kittle, I'm going to Kittle. He doesn't like take the time to scan the field and say, okay, yes, the ball is going to Kittle, but I'm gonna maybe do an audible. I'm gonna do something, kill, whatever, and audible out of the play and do something more advantageous. And more importantly, the thing that bothers me the most about Jimmy, two things I should say. He doesn't identify a weakness on the defense. Where okay, well, you got Debo being guarded by, I don't know, a third or fourth best cornerback, and he just keeps going to Debo the whole time until he makes the defense adjust. He never does that. And number two, all the games that we should win comfortably, he knows how to put us up somewhat, and then he knows how to get the other team back in the game because he'll throw some boneheaded picks where you're like, oh man, we got this game, man. Everybody's high-fiving, defense on the sideline laughing, but then he'll start throwing stuff and everybody's like crap. And then we as fans, we go from, oh man, you're at sports bar at home, whatever, you just having a good time, to now you're sweating and you're like, it's you're really down to the last second because for some reason he knows how to do enough right, but he also knows how to do enough wrong where it's just never a comfortable win, or it has to be something that's done at the last second.
Yeah, and I, by the way, great call. I appreciate you calling in, man. I am gonna have to get to the next one, but before you go,
Yes, sir.
I do want to say the point you made about not picking on defensive backs. I don't know if that's a Kyle thing or if that's a Jimmy thing, but the NFC Championship, they had the matchup right there for Brandon Ayuk. If they had gone to Ayuk repeatedly and forced them to stop single covering him with a bum defensive back, they could have gone to him for 200 plus yards and won that game single-handedly and picked on that corner over there. They didn't do it. Jimmy did make a heck of a throw down the seam where Ayuk kind of seemingly, I don't know what happened there, ended up out of bounds, whatever. That was a great throw. But outside of that, they could have done that over and over and over, and they just didn't take advantage of it. And hopefully it's a Jimmy skill set thing. Trey will take advantage of those situations, but it is something that is missing from the 49ers game because there are times where they have clear mismatches that they just do not abuse that other teams would. Miami against the 49ers 2 years ago, we saw it with Allen at corner. They went and picked on him. Fitzpatrick went at him over and over and over until they blew us out of the game. You have to have that ability. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have it, or Shanahan doesn't believe that he has it. And for whatever reason or another, they do not pick on corners. Hopefully that becomes part of their game. I think that was a hell of a point by you. Call in anytime, man. I'm just running a short call this week. So
hey, man, I appreciate it. Everybody like and subscribe, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All righty. We're going to get to Faithful Trey. So I apologize. I'm going to hold you guys closer to the 5 minutes here. I did let the time get a little bit away from me, but I want to get to all of you. So I've got my guy, Faithful Trey, Holden, and EMA Beats. That's how we're going to wrap this baby up. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, brother?
How you doing, man?
I am good. I was more than happy. I was fine just sitting and listening. I love listening to your stream. So,
no, I appreciate it, man. I know that you would, but I also don't trust myself because I've got a hold to an hour, and I know if I put you last, it'll turn into a 30-minute conversation. So by throwing you here, it kind of forces my hand to get through it and say, all right, we got to stick it to 5. So
yeah, I'm way worse than running on anyway. I just wanted to jump in and just say this one thing. So do you think that Kyle Shanahan is at all like Doug Peterson? Because if he is, this kind of played out before, and I think I talked to you about it, but that Sam Bradford was supposed to continually stay the starter for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Carson Wentz came in and everybody was like, whoa, this guy's actually like ready to go. So they kind of threw him in there when they were planning to sit him for a year. So all I'm saying is I think that a lot of the social media algorithms right now are pushing Jimmy in like a head-to-head in the preseason for this gig. And I can see you like nodding your head like just thinking the very worst of your organization, because that's how I am as a Vikings fan. By the way, you guys have 5 titles, so you need to shut the what up. Dude, I'm telling you, I know your viewpoint, and I don't think there will be any head-to-head. I still think that they're playing the PR game for the Jimmy trade. I could be 100% wrong. And I love how Lynch got called out on a bluff, because I don't in any world think that there were 2 second rounders sitting out there. I do love Peter King's take on Darnold and like a straight up trade, or maybe adding a 5th or something like that. But I had one question I did want to ask you. Brandon Ayuk, when he got benched, does anybody actually know why?
So the reason that they said was because he needed to learn to be a pro, almost as if he wasn't taking every snap seriously when it came to practice. And so they thought that that would translate to the games. They wanted him to go all out, snap in and snap out while he was practicing, and they weren't getting that from him. Okay. That's the story that they told. So I've got a friend that did a great breakdown on his channel, broke down the route running of Ayuk and how it took a step back. So maybe that was because of the repetition and the issues in practice. But yeah, that's the story they told anyways.
Okay. I was just personally wondering, because I know that he and Trey are getting along really well, and I was just wondering if that was, potentially part of it. So I know,
I think him and Trey are assuming Trey plays, which I definitely think he will. Ayuk is going to have a gigantic season, and I know everybody wants the Watson thing. I know you would love to see the Watson thing as well, selfishly, just to see him with Trey. But I also think working with Ayuk in 2 straight off seasons, I think people are overlooking that. A lot of the reason people want Watson is because of that chemistry from 2019. Yeah, I think that chemistry with Ayuk, working with him on the scout team and all those other things, and then working with him 2 straight off seasons, I think that chemistry can be every bit as strong, if not stronger, than what we saw in just 1 season with Watson. I really think him and Ayuk are going to do some fantastic things together. It's also why I'm not necessarily against, after the season, possibly shopping Kittle. Not now, but looking at it in the future, just because I don't know if Kittle's going to ever really have another big season with Ayuk being there. Obviously, Debo's going to get paid as well. And I think Trey's going to take advantage of outside the numbers, unlike Jimmy could ever do. And I think that Ayuk's going to be a big beneficiary because of it.
I completely agree with the Ayuk part. And I hope that they become boys even better than Watson. I mean, that would be perfect for team chemistry, right? Regarding the Kittle part of it, I see that. I understand exactly what you're saying. I do know that Wentz had a tendency a lot of using his dump off, which was Ertz. And I see George Kittle as like the big brother to Trey. So while I agree that he probably won't have another monster year, I think you'll definitely see an uptick this coming year. But that's all I had to say. I'm guessing my 5 minutes are up, and good luck for the rest of the show.
All right, brother. You have a good one. Thanks for calling in. We'll talk on Twitter.
You too.
Later. All right, Holden. I hope you are setting your homework aside, because I'm coming to you.
What's up, man? Brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How's homework going?
I'm actually still on spring break. So
there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, no more homework. Well, till next week. I'm actually working on getting a new job right now. I'm filling out a application.
Okay, nice, man.
They sent me it's not an application. It's a questionnaire they sent me. I got to send. It's for a remote job.
Is it like one of those personality test things?
Yeah, it's weird. It's pretty long too. I didn't think it was gonna be this long. But no, that's what I was getting to. I'm so disappointed in this organization right now. This was my most anticipated offseason I've had in a while, because, as you know, Trey was my number 1 quarterback coming out of the draft in 2021. I've been very upfront about that, and I was excited to see them build around him with that rookie contract. Let's get rid of Jimmy. I've never liked Jimmy. Jimmy just makes me so mad to watch. It's just infuriating to watch him play football, because all the callers have gone over it. I'm not going to rehash. But I was so excited to see them build around Trey to really take advantage of that salary cap, and it just seems like they just don't care. It does. Your title puts it pretty clear that they feels like they're holding him back. They haven't named him the starter. They haven't done anything to support this kid other than signing a DB and some special teamers. Nothing on offense. They let Lakin walk. They let Tom Compton walk. And we don't even know if McGlinchey's coming back healthy. This is more of a rant. I'm sorry.
No, do it. Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
I mean, and we don't have the draft capital to really build. I mean, we have some. I'm not saying we don't have any, but we don't have a lot. We don't have a first rounder. Our second rounder is very late. There's not much to build around the kid without going into free agency, but you still have $25 million on the salary cap from a quarterback who you don't want playing next year. Ideally don't want playing next year. But it blows my mind. It feels like ineptitude. And then I see two coaches from the 49ers tree, and Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel. They go out and they support their young quarterback. Yeah. I mean, one from the same draft as Trey Lance. They went out, they signed Laken Tomlinson. They got some O-line help. They're working on a receiver, but they were in on the Tyreek Hill sweepstakes. I guarantee you'll see them pick a receiver at 4 or 10 this year. I'm thinking the USC kid, if I'm taking one for them, because they have they have what the Ohio State kids bring in Elijah Moore, who they got out of the second round last year. And I think if they get a kid from USC,
London.
Yeah, London or Burks. I heard they had a good interview with Burks at the Combine. They really liked him. And they'll probably, now that Tyreek Hill's in the division, if Thibodeau doesn't fall to them, they'll probably take cornerback at number 4 and probably Gardner or Stingley. But if Thibodeau falls to them, they're going to take Thibodeau because Saleh's scheme is built on getting to the quarterback. They need that pass rush. They don't really have one right now. And then let's go to Miami, same division, but same coaching tree, brings Welker with him as his wide receiver coach, then goes out and says, hey, we're going to do everything we can to support Tua. They get the best left tackle in the market that was out there. They get Tyreek Hill. They already have Jalen Waddle. They revamped that offensive line. They're doing everything to make sure that this kid has no excuses. They're going to figure out if he's the guy next year. And the Jets are going to be trying to do the same thing. Let's figure out if Zach Wilson's the guy, so if we need to move on, we can move on. The 49ers are now dragging their feet with a quarterback who's just as, if not more talented, definitely more talented than Tua. But I would put him and Zach arm talent-wise. Trey's bigger. Trey's more athletic. Zach may have the arm talent because he's a natural. He played quarterback for all his life. I think coming out of high school, Trey was listed as an athlete, not quarterback. Mm-hmm. And that's why he went to North Dakota State, because they offered him at quarterback. I know. They'll win 10, 11 games minimum, because the Patriots, I think, have gotten worse. Losing that guard they traded to Tampa and J.C. Jackson, they've gotten worse. Now, Bill always finds a way to put it together, but at a certain point, Buffalo and Miami just have the weapons. They have the weapons.
Buffalo went out and got Von Miller as well. Like they got even better.
Buffalo even has Josh Allen making $35-40 million a year and still went out and supported the kid. I'm sitting here crazy. Like you can't. Like, what are the Niners doing? I know it's hard to attract people to come to the Bay Area because of the taxes and everything, but I mean, you got the relief in getting Trey. That was the point of getting a rookie quarterback, was to just spend all you can, like the Chiefs did 3 years ago with Mahomes, like the Chargers are doing now with Herbert. That's the reason we got a rookie quarterback. But I was so pissed off last week. I watched Grant talk with Vish, and I felt that same exact way that Vish felt about this team right now. Like, it's just so counterintuitive. They are holding the kid back. But I know you had to hold. I had to hold to the 5 minutes. I know most of it was a rant, so I'll.
Hey, well, I let me just real quick. Let me say this. I'm going to work backwards through the call because I want to get some points off to piggyback off what you said. But it is funny to me that even the most level-headed people, Vish is one of them. They're losing their mind at this point. Like, this is how frustrating the situation is. And I'm seeing some of the most level-headed people throughout the community are just like, what is going on? So it is funny to see that they're driving everybody nuts with this whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. But I wanted to talk about the leadership thing. Now, if they are going behind the scenes and going up to Trey and saying, listen, regardless of what's going on, you're our guy. Don't worry about it. Like, let's let all this play out. We got a plan. You're the starter. This is your team. Then I'm fine with them doing what they're doing, right? Like, they don't have to tell us every little thing they're doing. As long as they're doing that, then I feel great about it. But I have a feeling they're not doing that. And if they're not doing that and they're playing it out in the media, the way that they're playing it out behind the scenes, and, oh, I don't know, it's going to be a competition or we're going to do whatever, that's where I have an issue, because Trey Lance is only going to be here for a cheap contract for so many years. And if you get that conversation a little rocky now, that may be an issue in a couple years when you're trying to resign this kid and he's really good. So they have to be very careful the way that they play this thing. I just look at the leadership thing as a whole. I'm big on leadership. It's the big reason that I killed Kyle early in the year. I felt like there was a lack of it, a lack of empathy, and I thought he got much better at it. And that's why I'm hoping behind the scenes he's doing the right thing. But if he's not doing that, man, it's a major mistake. And right now is an opportunity to put your arm around the kid, let him know that he is your guy, regardless of what's going on in the media. Let him know that behind the scenes, and he will be a warrior for you forever. You can win that relationship over right now, but if he's not doing that, man, it does concern me. So I think you bring up a great point, Holden. Good luck with your job application and your job interview. Obviously, you're starting school again next week, so good luck with that. And I'm assuming we'll be talking again next week, brother.
Yeah, I'm trying to become a regular. So school's closing down for me. I think I have 3 more weeks left after spring break, so I'll be more present. And I'm really gunning for another mock draft night. That was probably the most fun I've had
we'll
in
do
a
it.
while.
We'll do it again as we get closer. I promise. We will do it again. I'll set some time aside. We'll do multiple ones. As we get closer, we will definitely do it. I think right now is still kind of that sweet spot, free agency, but like that Thursday before, the week before, Wednesday. We're gonna go Wednesday because that's what the days we go. Thursday is when the draft starts. So that day before the draft, we're gonna go mock draft crazy. So make sure you're a part of that show. We'll definitely bring you in.
Will. I've been watching a lot of tape on my off time. I've got some prospects in mind for the Niners.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited for it, man. We'll definitely do it.
All right, man. Have a good night. Great channel. Like, subscribe, everybody. It's a great place to be here. So I'll
thanks, man. I appreciate you, Holden. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, EMA Beats, been waiting so patient. And I think last week, man, you came in late and I couldn't get to you. I feel bad for that. So I'm glad that we're getting to you tonight. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, Jesse, man, I'm hanging in there. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm doing really good, actually. What's on your mind, brother?
Fantastic. It's fantastic. Can't argue with that. But yeah, man, just I was just talking last night on Rombo's show, man, and I was talking about how I saw Miami, getting a minimum 10 wins on their season, and that was before the Tyreek Hill news. And that just went up to like 12, at least 2 more games. You know what I'm saying? Minimum. I'm just that's just where I'm kind of at with it right now, considering the speed, the level of talent they got on there defensively already, and on the offense. And I mean, Tua's still learning, but at the end of the day, they got every other piece, pretty much of the puzzle there. And then they still got some draft capital to play with.
Yeah, dude. I love what Miami did, and it's tough, right? Because it seems like there's a lot of teams in the AFC going all in. It is a weird year to do it, that everybody's deciding to do it out of the AFC, but you got to love what Miami's doing. And to Holden's point, he talks about how they're getting behind Tua 100%. And what's interesting is that coaching staff didn't draft Tua, but they're still getting behind him like he's the guy, whether he is or isn't long term. They sure are treating him as such. They're surrounding him with tons of weapons. They're protecting him with the offensive line. I think they're doing a great job for him. And being that Mike McDaniel came from a Shanahan coaching tree, was just underneath him, I find it a very interesting, stark contrast to what we see happening with the San Francisco 49ers for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's kind of crazy. No knock against Kyle. I know it kind of took him a little while to get things going, but I feel like Mike McDaniel's going to have a much better intro, and his first 3 seasons will probably be a lot better win wise and just reputation wise than Kyle's. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, but that's just my assumption. I just really think that listening to him talk and how he was really motivated into ensuring that the players were utilized to their fullest of their potential, and how he thinks outside of the box. The things they were doing in the backfield. That one game when we were moving around Juwan Jennings in the backfield and we were moving all the guys around in different positions. I feel like that game, it seemed like Mike, I'm just assuming that he was able to really throw some things out there offensively that we could utilize. And, it looked really well, not to discount everything else he's done, but I felt like that would seem like something that he was doing, to kind of throw off the defense. And I can't remember exactly which game that was, but I just was really impressed when I saw that. And then we didn't see it any other games throughout the rest of the year, which was kind of disappointing, because I feel like that's something that teams are not going to expect from us, because they, for some reason, Kyle does he just does different formations of a lot of the same stuff, and it's repetition. It's repetitive, redundant, so to speak. And, the contrast with Mike McDaniel was he was doing things creatively that teams wouldn't expect more so than not. And it showed, you know what I mean? And so I feel like what he's going to do over there in Miami is going to be, amazing. And, the players he was able to retain, what he's able to do with getting Tyreek Hill and the draft. And like I said, the defense is already really strong. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do, man. I'll definitely be watching some Miami Dolphin games this coming season.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for it. And like watching Mike McDaniel, this is the thing about him. He's extremely awkward, right? But he does have that little it factor, that leadership factor that I was talking about, that I desired more from Shanahan. And maybe I have Shanahan all wrong. Maybe he is this type of guy, but I don't get this vibe from him whatsoever. But watching him pick up the phone on the plane, calling Tua, and just giving him that vote of confidence immediately, that was so big for me. And that right there is going to go a long way. You're going to see Tua at the very least give him everything he has. Now, maybe he's just not talented enough, and that will show through, but he's going to play his butt off for Mike McDaniel. No doubt about it. And I'm excited to watch it as well. I hope everything goes well for him in Miami.
Yeah. And what's crazy is the lack of leadership. I don't know where Kyle kind of gets that from. He's got like this old man mentality where he doesn't talk much. He doesn't show much encouragement. He doesn't show much, really support for the players. Maybe it's behind closed doors. Maybe it's minimal. Maybe it's not much at all. I don't know. But for like you said, with Mike McDaniel's doing what he did and reaching out to Tua immediately, you can tell that he wants to build a bond with his player. I mean, Kyle's friendly with some of his players, but I think there's a balance, and I think he's missing some things where he kind of seems to be a bit desensitized and maybe not as, I'm not in a physical form. I'm using the word handsy, but just a little more in depth and a little more, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I just feel like Kyle's not really connecting with the guys the way that he should be, and that's what it's gonna. I can see it's affected a lot of our players, and I know that Mike McDaniel's got a leg up with him on that. That's why he's really close with Debo and a lot of other guys, and why it was such a tough to lose him. You know what I mean, as a coach.
Yeah, it's interesting because we didn't know exactly what he did. Yeah, you're good. We didn't know exactly what he did as far as being the offensive coordinator. He wasn't calling plays, but I think slowly we're starting to figure out what he brought to this team and what we're going to miss without having him. So I'm with you.
Yeah, man, very impressive. But it's as far as what we've done in the offseason, I can't say that I'm really too I'm not really excited yet. I like the Ward signing. I did like the Ridgeway signing because I think he was kind of stopping us a little bit up there in the middle when we played Philly early in the year. I kept remembering that Ridgeway guy. And then we got that Burks linebacker, and then we got McLeod. Is that his name?
Yeah, Ray.
Yeah, Ray. So I mean, I'm okay with it. I just feel like we never really go
we never really go as high as we can, even whether it's in the draft or it's in free agency. 60 on 5. 60 on 5, please. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Gotta get that gas, man. You gotta get it.
Jesus, 60 on 5.
That's gonna be about 5 gallons.
Exactly, and it's not enough. But I think that we kind of like underachieve sometimes. I think the biggest picks that we've had was when we did Nick and Debo. That's the most confident draft that we've had. Like the splash players where you're like, man, and we didn't even know Debo was going to be this amazing. But obviously he already had a really good reputation, and there was a lot of reason to be confident in him. And then of course Nick Bosa was, that was the golden child. You know what I mean, of the draft. And I feel like we haven't really made really too many big moves. I know we still do well with the guys that we do have and our coaching staff. We're still able to really get really great production, and I think that complements us as coaching staff wise and just all in all as a culture. But we need to be able to. We got to do something, man, before the season starts. We got to get somebody. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Maybe it's just what I want. It's a personal want, but I feel like a lot of us as fans, longtime Niner fans, we want to see something, explosive. We want to get a piece too, and I don't think that we've really gotten that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough sitting back and watching the Rams do what they're doing and seeing the AFC West and Miami and the Jets and everybody kind of do their thing. And, here we are getting special teamers for sure. I mean, I think the 49ers are getting slightly better, but I don't know if it's enough. And right now they have an opportunity to run the NFC. We'll see what happens. I hope that it works out. I hope they make the right decision here at quarterback, but it seems like, I don't know, man, it's hard to trust. Is it Ellis, by the way?
Yeah.
All right. Somebody in the chat called you Ellis, so I'm like, it's got to be Ellis. Your sign says EL. Hey, Ellis, I appreciate you calling him in. I do have one more that just hopped in. I want to be respectful and get him in. I love this guy, so I'm going to get him in real quick before I get out of here. Call in anytime, brother.
All gravy, Jesse. Thank you again, man, for the platform. Shout out to you as always, man. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. And yeah, man, on to the next episode, champ. Take care.
All right, man. Have a good one. We'll talk next week. Later. All right. I was going to end this show, but I've got the Notorious One in the background. I got to bring him in. He's going to light it on fire, I'm sure. He's going to piss some people off. But I'm going to bring him in here real quick. Mr. Mike Miller, what's up?
You want to know why we can't sign nobody?
Jimmy G.
Well, no, not really. He's part of it. But when you sign D Ford to a deal that you can't get out of, and he's pretty much going to make the entire contract and ain't played squat. We're still paying Western Richburg if you look at the dead cap money this year. Bet you didn't know that.
No, I thought last year was the last year of that.
No,
I didn't realize it went
we still got about $3.5 million on there for him. You got Mike McGlinskey that we're paying $10.5 million to. For what? I have no clue. You're paying a kicker $5 million. I would never pay a kicker more than $2.5 million unless he's the Baltimore kicker. That's the only one worth anything in this entire league other than $2.5 million or below.
He's got a leg on him too.
Jimmy G, I said it last year that you could save $53 million if you were to trade him last year or just cut him or whatever. Well, if we wouldn't have wasted all this money on all these players, we'd probably have $100 million in cap going into the season. We signed Debo already. Both have been signed already. We probably got J.C. Jackson. We probably got Chandler Jones. And we probably would have ended up with a new left guard also in all this mix.
Well, already though, the one thing they could have done is cut Jim. We talked about this early on. You weren't in here, but if they had cut Jimmy last year and just rolled over that money, they'd have $50 million to play with right now. $50 million.
$53.
That's a lot of money, man. A lot of money that they passed up on.
But, John is the biggest idiot in the world. We all know that. My nephew was bringing something here, showing it to me.
Oh, was he? I was like, where's that coming from? I didn't know if it was here or not.
Besides that, there's no way in hell Jimmy G will be on this team because we're setting it about $3 million now. It's going to take $8 million to sign the draft picks. What are we going to do? Rework everybody's deal and push, $20 million to next year? No, you can't do that.
That's the thing. Jimmy Ward still has to be re-signed. That's going to save $6 million. That's enough.
Why re-sign Jimmy Ward? Why can't we get better at that position? Somebody.
Here's the thing. Well, here's the thing: is I think if you pair Jimmy Ward with another good, like if they'd gotten Tyrann Mathieu and paired him with Jimmy Ward, I think those two could be magic together. But he's got to cover for guys that aren't getting turnovers. Like Tart has three interceptions in his career. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Jimmy Ward now has 4, and he had 3 of them this year.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. You pair him
that's
with
what I'm saying. Why can't we get somebody that's
Honey
a turnover
Badger
machine?
Yeah,
we should have.
I like Jimmy Ward though. I love Jimmy Ward.
Well, I don't, and I don't see us signing Deebo Samuels neither, because there's no way in hell he's getting $28, $30 million a year. And the next man up, he gets $2 million more. 28's the book right now, so 30 is what he's got to get. I mean,
30 is the book. Tyreek Hill got 30 today.
Well, then we got to go 32 with him. That's the way it works, right?
Yeah,
How the hell do you do that?
I don't know.
You can't. You got to trade him. Let's get them 5 draft picks right now. Let's get them.
If they can get it, okay. So I was talking about this with Grant. If they can get that haul that they just got for Tyreek Hill, you have to consider it. Now,
you don't have to consider it. You put a gun to John Lynch's head, you pull the trigger, and you become the GM, and you accept the deal.
Chill.
I'm just saying, I mean, I'm joking, but an idiot would turn down 5 draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, 5 draft picks for a wide receiver is an awful lot. He is the heart and soul of this offense,
first and a second for him.
I know.
Forget the other 3, first and second, we good.
It's a lot. It is a lot. Like we talked about, it was like 10 games in the season. Like, okay, well, if somebody offers you, just hypothetically, if somebody offered you a first for Deebo, that came up between Grant and I, and then it was a big thing on Twitter Spaces. But like, it's hard to turn that down. If you can get a second, also, it's just, I don't know, man. Deebo's like, again, like
you can get a first, second, and third for him right now,
right? But Deebo, like, if the 49ers were a college
top pass rusher to book in with Bosa. Another wide receiver in the draft with the 2nd round pick. The 3rd round pick, you could pick another wide receiver in the draft. This is a deep. There's 20 wide receivers in this class that are going to start on teams this year.
I don't disagree with that, because there is, like, it's not very top heavy, but it is deep. But here's what I want to say: if the 49ers were a college team, then Deebo Samuel would be the guy that you put out to rally and bring in the freshman class every single year. Like, he's the guy that is the consummate pro. And you're saying, hey, we want everybody to be like Deebo. Like, that's how important he is to this team. So that's why I have an issue. Like, man, they got to figure it out.
Then move on from Kittle.
I like that option more than I do Deebo personally.
You can move on from Kittle. You can have the team give you a 1st round pick, and yes, he will be worth a 1st round pick. This ain't the Jimmy wishing and hoping and prayer. Kittle is one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in the league. He will demand a 1st round pick, and a team would pick up all of his dead cap to move. Also, but I do want to say one thing. I don't know if you remember this when I said it on Grant's show. I said that Jimmy G, I may have said it on your show too, that he will somehow come up with a surgery at the end of the season to get him his extra $25 million from the Niners. And damned if it didn't come true. And I said that over a year ago. I knew he was going to come up with anything to. I was saying a clean up, all the shoulders hurting or the knee needs a little scud.
I think I do remember that.
You do remember it, because I think I said it on both of them. And I said, he's going to get his money.
Yeah.
We're going to be stuck with him.
You did say that. You did say that.
It came true.
You did.
But there is still 2 teams out there that could need a quarterback, Miami being one, because the guy down there knows him and he's loaded the team up. And I don't think he likes Tua down there, to be honest with you, because some guys were rumbling about that on NFL Network today. And then how in the hell does Seattle go with nobody? How does Carolina go with a guy? How does Carolina go with a guy that just got him a top 6 draft pick again?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Panthers are the only team that I see possibly doing it, but ugh.
Yeah,
They
well,
don't have a
there's no
first
way
or a
he could be on
second.
the team. There's no way he could be on the team. We can't sign our draft picks. We can't afford an offensive line now without him gone. Sure, we can nickel and dime it and, shop at the back of the Walmart dumpster for our offensive line if they want. What is that going to do? You go put Jimmy out there and get him killed? So all the Jimmy G lovers out there go, well, we ain't got no offensive line protecting him, blah, 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 blah. That's why he sucks. No, he sucks because he sucks.
Let me leave you with this, Mike, and you
Yeah.
tell me what your thoughts are on this. I'm cutthroat. Like, this is a business. Jimmy G's having this surgery at the perfect time to ruin everything. I personally am waiting till that man gets healthy, right before training camp, letting him get healthy, let him pass that physical, and then I'm cutting him so I don't pay him the $7.5 million and letting him go be a backup for somebody
Where does he
else.
get the $7.5 million? Because I've heard he does and I've heard he doesn't.
He does. So if he can't pass a physical when they cut him, it's $7.5 million is what he's owed for an injury settlement. However, if another team re-signs him for more than $7.5 million, the 49ers get that back, but they don't get it back till next season.
Remember this. What's the guy that signed with the Oakland Raiders? And they turned around and cut him after they guaranteed like $25 million or $30 million with him. And then he went to Tampa Bay. And then he walked off the field. Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown, yeah.
Okay, if they could cut him and owing him $25+ million in guaranteed money and not pay him a dime and not go against the salary cap, Jimmy G went against the Niners saying, get your damn surgery now. No, I'm going to do it when I want to. We can get out of that $7 million too.
If that was the conversation, who knows what the actual conversation was, though?
Well, I thought
that was the conversation.
He had surgery, and they told him to go ahead and do it. There's ways out of everything. You can breach a contract there anyway, every day. I mean, if Antonio Brown, they got out of $25 million guaranteed a month later of signing a new contract, we can get out of Jimmy G $7 million and cut him.
He froze his feet off, though, like a weirdo. I don't know. That was such a weird situation.
Oh, you're talking about Antonio Brown?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was that racist stuff come out, and that's why Mike Mayock kicked him out the doors, remember?
Yeah, I know, but he froze his feet off. Then he couldn't play or practice, and then it just turned into a big old thing. And then he
Jimmy G didn't want to get the
whatever else.
He said so. And they
don't have to
have proof. It's your word versus my word. Case closed.
Yeah. Good news. Like I said, the good news is that if they wait for him to pass a physical, they don't even have to worry about it. And if he does get signed by someone else, then they get that money back next year.
The entire offensive line interior is drained. The market is. There's nobody left at that point. We need to make a move now. I don't want to redo Trent. Don't want to redo Jimmy Ward. I don't want to backload all these deals just so we can get stuff to cater to Jimmy. Screw Jimmy. Put his ass to the street at this point.
Listen, they should have moved on from him after the Super Bowl. Like, let's be realistic. Tom Brady should have been on this team, but they didn't.
Kept him last year. You should have put the third round pick in, or third overall pick in there. Every other GM and coach and owner would have kicked him out into the field and said, you're going to get it or you're going to be a bust. Who has not started a third overall pick in the last 25, 30 years?
No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
Nobody. And I've always been told the best way to learn a job is on-hand experience.
So it is always.
Your dad, your granddad, and everybody in the world's told you that. That's how you learn.
I'm going through it. In my day job right now, I just recently switched day jobs, and I'm learning. But learning hands-on is the easiest way for me to pick it up. Like, I can read whatever, but actually hands-on learning, that's the best way. I agree with you.
Only way to do it. So, all right. Well, it's been a good night. I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. You have a good one.
We do need to fire John Lynch, though, because I'm tired of all this big cap. And I'm sure you probably agree with that, too.
There it is. I love it. All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right.
Oh, man. Mike's always going to light it on fire. I needed that. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Smack Jones says, what up, big dog? Keep doing what you do. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for tapping in. Thank you so much for giving the super chat. And then I got Dietz saying, just for being a fellow Jimmy hater, should have been gone last year. Play the kid. Hey, to be clear, I don't hate Jimmy. I think hate is like a personal thing. I don't like him as our quarterback. I think he should have been gone long ago. I try to tell everybody after the 2019 season that this guy is a mistake waiting to happen. That was the biggest thing. My biggest thing is that people ride so hard for this guy who's so mediocre. And that's what frustrates the hell out of me. So more so, I hate Jimmy G stands than I do Jimmy G himself. And not that I hate them, I hate their stance, and I love to debate. So that's where it comes from. But I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Let me show you guys some love, and then we'll get on out of here. Hold on a second. All right, y'all. We got in almost an hour and a half. Thank you so much for another great open mic. I appreciate each and every one of you. We are approaching 5,000 subs. So if you have not subscribed already, please make sure to do so. I'll be back with Jackhammer tomorrow, and then my co-host, Rad, tomorrow night, right here on Last Second Sports. Appreciate each and every one of you. Have a fantastic night. Till tomorrow. Peace.